I do think that the appointment of Merrick Garland was a mistake. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt about that. I don't know that he knew that it was going to be a mistake because I think he thought that in order to justify what was going to be the inevitable prosecution of Donald Trump, you had to go by the book. You had to follow the rules and make sure that you dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's. But he didn't. I don't think he knew that Merrick Garland was going to move at a snail's pace to get this done. And I think Merrick Garland's failure is really the big problem. And Joe Biden
But
appointed
is
him.
it possible, Keith, that I mean, I'm not a big Merrick Garland fan, but there are reports that he was being as meticulous as possible because he knew they only had one shot and he wanted to get it right. And it was taking longer than it should have, but they were doing everything in their power to be as meticulous and as detailed as possible. Because if they screwed it, and with all due respect, we saw what happened in Georgia. Georgia should have been done. It should have been done. And with all that mess that happened, they were able to delay. I mean, is it possible that that's what Garland? I don't think Garland wanted to screw it up. I think they were just trying to cross all their T's and dot all their I's. Am I wrong about that?
No, I think you're right. But I think they're both statements can be true at the same time. I think Merrick Garland and Joe Biden thought that they were going to do it the right way. They didn't want it to look like a political prosecution, like Pam Bondi going after Letitia James in New York, or, that kind of crap. But so they wanted to make sure that they did it by the book. But what they didn't anticipate, and what white people never anticipated in America, and what they need to finally wake up and realize that this is a racist country, and they will elect a racist convicted criminal with 34 felonies and 2 impeachments to be the president of the United States, no matter what he does, as long as he promotes white supremacy. They couldn't possibly fathom that America would elect this guy again. But black
Again,
people
yeah.
have been telling white people for centuries that this is who you are. This is a racist country. And white people refuse to believe it. And now here we are because white people once again voted for Donald Trump in record numbers, just like they did in the previous election. They didn't vote for Barack Obama in either of his elections. They didn't vote for Joe Biden. They didn't vote for Kamala Harris, but
Majority.
they voted for Donald Trump 2 times, including white women. So don't give me any more baloney about how this is not a racist country. I don't think that Merrick Garland could have anticipated that because he's not black. He doesn't understand just how racist America is. And the big problem I have with Joe Biden and Merrick Garland and all these sort of white moderates and progressives is that they're so focused on other issues and class issues that they don't even realize that how racist America is. The fundamental issue, the fundamental problem in America is racism. I mean, I understand capitalism and oligarchy and all that kind of stuff, but it's all very much related to racism. Even though racism came after that, because if you read Ibram X. Kendi's book and he talks about how racism came after capitalism, yeah, I get that. But the truth is, racism is inextricably linked to capitalism today. The reason why Donald Trump is able to get tax cuts for billionaires passed when that's not the agenda that most people want is because they think that by supporting these white rich people that they will somehow be able to oppress black people and that's all they care about. But the majority of white people continue to vote for this are sick and they need to be challenged in this. That's why I refuse to coddle this. I refuse this whole idea that we're supposed to sit around and pretend like, oh, well, we can just get them back if we say the right thing, we change the messaging. No, we cannot get them back because anybody who would vote for a twice impeached convicted criminal sexual abuser for president of the United States against a qualified black woman candidate, against other people who have been put up against him, a woman who was Secretary of State, a man who was the Vice President of the United States, who were qualified people without his record, without his history. It shows just what kind of people they are. I don't care. And I hear this even from Democratic strategists. People will say, oh, well, we need to be sensitive about this. We need to win elections. What's the fucking point? Excuse me. What's the point of winning elections if we're not going to use our power to do something? What is the damn point? Why do we have power if we're not going to use it? That makes no sense to me. The whole point of being elected is to use that power to do something good for people's lives. If you can't do that, then get out of the way, Lisa Murkowski and anybody else.
Keith, I always say they want to go back to the 1990s Democrats. They want to go back to the Bill Clinton days because Bill Clinton won Arkansas. They just skip over Obama's legacy. They want to go back to, and we had very low voter turnout, black folks, during the 1990s. They want to go back to that because he won Louisiana. Go back to the days of Bubba. That's all you keep hearing about. Clinton, Clinton, Clinton. They want to go back in time to 1990s Democrats. I don't want to go back to 1990s Democrats. I don't want to go back to that. But that's their vision. We have to go back there, and we'll win elections again.
And I worked for Bill Clinton. I understood what that moment was. That moment is not coming back. That was a
Right.
Bill Clinton was a transitional president too, because I talk about this to you all the time, Clay. But at that point, when Bill Clinton comes in 1992, Democrats had lost five of the last six presidential elections. And they were looking for somebody to get them back. They needed a Bubba. They were wiped out in 84 in one of the biggest landslides in history. They were wiped out in
That
72
was a
in
landslide.
another big landslide in American history. And they were tired. They couldn't run on being liberals anymore. That didn't work for Mondale when he said he was going to raise taxes. That didn't work for Dukakis in 88 when he said he was against the death penalty. So they needed somebody like a Bill Clinton because he was going to thread the needle and create this third way. That was perfect for that time, even though it wasn't great for Black people or for LGBTQ people. It was perfect to get in the door and get some people in, like Supreme Court justices, like Ruth Bader Ginsburg. But we don't want that anymore. The progressive left doesn't want that anymore. Black people don't want that anymore. And all these people who think that that's the solution are wrong. That's not the solution. That if you have a choice, especially now the Republican Party has moved so far to the right, if you have a choice between somebody who's going to be a moderate Democrat and somebody who's going to be a racist Republican, the white people are going to choose the racist Republican in every election. They're not going to choose a moderate Democrat. If they want somebody who's going to represent them, they're not going to, and they feel like the Republican Party has not done it because the milquetoast Republicans, the George Bush Republicans, and the Bob Dole Republicans weren't strong enough for them. They don't have that problem anymore. They got Ron DeSantis and Greg Abbott and Donald Trump.
You were saying earlier about what people want in progressive politics. Keith, I'm not sure if people want progressive politics. I know I do. I know you do. But a lot of progressive folks get voted out. A lot. Look at Mayor Eric Adams. He was up against Maya Wiley. I know it was ranked choice voting in New York City, but I keep on seeing centrists win over and over and over. Jamal Bowman gets voted out. I mean, I don't. You would think they'd want progressive politics because it's all about progressing and helping you get ahead and the rich paying their fair share of taxes, but that doesn't appear to be a good selling point.
Well, I think you kind of answered your own question there. It's like, I think people want progressive politics, but they don't necessarily want progressive politicians as much. And if you ask people, do you support raising the minimum wage? Overwhelmingly, yes. Do you support healthcare for everyone? Overwhelmingly, yes. Do you support affordable housing? Overwhelmingly, yes. Do you support doing something about climate change? Overwhelmingly, yes. Do you support fixing our schools? Do you support spending more money to pay teachers? Do you support public schools? They support all those things. Do you support doing something about having universal background checks and doing something about the easy accessibility for guns? People support those things. But what Republicans and conservatives do so well is that they take these wedge issues, these issues like trans athletes, even there are only 10 trans athletes in the entire NCAA out of 500,000 athletes, or
Right.
or illegal aliens, which is a term I don't use, but they use. Even though we just saw this white dude down in Florida shoot up Florida State University yesterday, and nobody's talking about deporting people like that. They
Uh,
take these
Two
wedge
people died.
issues and they try to use those issues to divide the left or the left of center community. The majority of the public supports the left. Let me just start with that. Democrats have won the popular vote in 7 of the last 9 presidential elections. And part of the reason why is because the country is moving in that direction. And not just because of the demographic shifts, just who we are as a country. But people still have discomfort with some of the issues that Democrats feel the need to, and I think they are right to do this, to support.